Oh, good morning. I have to say, I don't know if Mark and Karen are in the room, but I look forward to Owen's video every single year. 3 out of 10 is pretty good, so that's pretty good. Good morning, everybody, and happy Mother's Day. I always feel like Oprah when I get to do this, so how are you guys? I would say you're all getting a car, but you can have apples and grapes on your way out. So happy Mother's Day. We are so glad you're here this morning. I don't know how long we've been doing this, but for a few years now, we've taken Mother's Day to just kind of hear from mothers and their stories and their perspectives. But what I will say, and I know you're going to find this today in the story you're about to hear from Sirena here, is that although this is Mother's Day and we will be hearing from a mother, today is about Jesus and about what he has done through the life of Sirena as a mother, as a parent, as a friend, as a lot of things. So there's something for everyone here today. So dads, brothers, uncles, we don't want you to tune out. We really feel like you're going to really be inspired and motivated and encouraged today to leave here knowing Jesus a little bit better and feeling closer to him and equipped and prepared. We've been in this series, Bless This Home, we've been talking about generosity. Here at River Run, we believe that generosity changes lives. And so we're kind of in the theme of generosity within the home as parents and how we do that. And I think you're going to hear a lot of generosity from Serena's story today. This is, if you don't know Sirena, if you don't know Sirena from, yes, hello, Sirena, very loved. Sirena is a generous person in so many ways. She serves in a lot of ways here at River Run. She helps on our host team, but I know that you all know Sirena from being up here on the worship team, because if you come here on a Sunday morning and Serena's on stage, you're clapping and you're singing and you're going to be worshiping right along with Sirena. She's very generous in worship in that manner. So good morning, Sirena. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
So I guess we'll just kick it off really quick. Why don't you let everybody, or tell everybody a little bit about who you are and, you know, your story of coming here to River Run. Just give us a little bit of introduction here so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, well, first let me say good morning to everybody. Happy Mother's Day. And Nate, the song, Trust in God, I cannot believe you did that song right before this. So, because I was tearing up, and I'm like, great, I have to go on stage, so great for that. But it goes right along with the story. So, in case you guys don't know, I have 4 children. I know some of you have only seen maybe 2 of them. I have 2 older ones. One is in the military right now, and the other one's in Korea. And so, but I do have my 2 youngest ones that come here and attend, so they're with me. We've been at River Run since my youngest, who is 13 now, since he was 3. And I started here right after the year that my divorce was finalized. Found River Run through me doing my taxes. That is how I found River Run. I was doing my taxes. It was a sister here who was attending. I cannot remember that sister's name to save my life, but she was attending River Run and invited me, and it was smooth sailing from there because I never left River Run. I tried to leave the River Run, and you guys pulled me back. I'm just kidding. No, I just felt home. I felt like home here, and so I've learned a lot being here at River Run. River Run is such a family-oriented church, and I am so blessed to have the family, the love, the people that I have interacted with in the years that I've been here. So I'm grateful.
So, Sirena, when you were sharing your story with me in the beginning, you mentioned that from the moment you stepped in River Run, you felt peace. So I wanted to ask you, when you say you felt peace, was that like a season in your life that felt a little like it was in turmoil? What about it felt peaceful to you, and were you in a season of your life where you felt like you needed that peace?
Well, I mean, if anybody's been through a divorce, you already know. And not only going through a divorce, but being a single parent with 4 young children. So, but coming here, because I believe in God. I know I read the Bible, but I wasn't consistent with it. And so when I stepped foot at River Run, it felt like a whole weight was lifted off for me. I can be outside in the world, and now I come in here, and I just felt like I could breathe. Like, it felt like home. It felt wonderful. It felt like it was needed, that this is where I belong. So,
yeah. So that sense of community kind of brought you in. I'm sure Tina had something to do with that. Thanks, Tina.
Yeah.
It was Tina. We could just say that. It was Tina. So walk us through. You have a really incredible story, and we obviously don't want to rush through it. And I think what we're going to hear this morning, a lot of it, there's going to be that theme of community and that theme of generosity, both personally and from community. But what were your hopes for your children in those early days? You're newly divorced, new single mom, and how did your faith play into that?
I wanted my children to be okay. I didn't want them to feel like, this was the end of the road, that we were going to be, in a bad place. And the main thing is, I'm going to tell you, my kids grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household, and I wasn't very happy in that marriage as far as in that religion, and I have nothing against it. It wasn't for me. And so I wanted my kids to have God in their life. I wanted them to be able to make a decision on what they wanted in their life. So we prayed together, we read together. I brought them to church. Even to this day, they still come to church. They can fuss and fight, but they still come to church. And I wanted them to be able to make a decision and have God in their life, and and to know who He is and what He has done for our family and what He's still doing in our family.
Right. So, walk us through. I know we're gonna go through some very intense parts of your story. Walk us through that first trial. We talked about how you got there, what you were feeling, and where God felt like He was in the middle of all of that.
Okay, so if you've been here long enough, when I was here, so the first time I was tested, or a trial that I had to go through, I lost my home because I didn't have the support system that I needed for my children and I. So we did lose our home, and I had a little bit of help at that time, trying to get by, and we became homeless for the first time, and I didn't tell anybody. I kept it a secret. I was very prideful, and I tried to do it myself. And the first time around, I just, I was able to get through it on my own, no problem. But that wasn't the end. That wasn't the end.
How old were your children when you lost your home?
Let's see, if I can remember, they were all in elementary. Not all in elementary. I had two in the middle school and two in elementary is when I had them. They were younger elementary. So I had I want to say kindergarten, first grade is when, my youngest ones were there. The first time we became homeless, yes.
Yeah. And so what did that transition look like for you guys? What were you doing in that in-between, in that time of seeking answers?
Crying a lot. I was crying a lot because I felt like a failure. I felt like, why did I do this to my kids? And so it was even to the point where the kids went to school. I made sure they were clean and bathed, and they went to school just like nobody knew. Nobody at church knew, nobody at school knew. I didn't know what to do. And so I just went by day, and I was searching for something to put the kids in, and a hotel or whatnot. I tried everything, and so it just got really, really hard. And to this day, I don't even know the first time around. This is not the first time. The first time around, I have no clue. I just did it. I just worked it out.
So you get through that season, you guys find security and stability again, and then tell us a little bit what comes after that.
We found something. I found something, and we were there, and I was able to do work. I still wasn't working as enough to actually live like we were supposed to living at the time. So the place that we were at was only temporary. Okay. I finally was able to talk to someone at church, which was Tina. And Tina kind of showed me, pointed me in the direction of some resources, and we were able to, be okay at that point. But again, it's still very, very hard as a single parent, especially with 4, to try to maintain and make sure everything's okay, make sure they got what they needed. And it was just really, really hard. So with all that said, we went through it. We were able to get the resources that we needed, but we ended up losing our home again. Mm-hmm. We lost our home again.
Yeah.
And so therefore, this time around, I may have said something to someone, but it was not to the point where I really didn't want, and I think I spoke to someone, I said, I don't want anybody to know, because once again, I felt like a mother who has disappointed her children, and I felt broken. And I believe the first time, when this happened the first time, I didn't do what God told me to do. I can tell you that right now. I didn't do what God told me to do. So therefore, it happened again. And so I wasn't following the steps I was supposed to do. And I admit it, I'm not doing I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I wasn't doing what he told me to do. I wasn't doing what other people were telling me to do. I was doing my own thing. I could do it. I can handle it. I got this. No problem. And therefore, it happened again. And I did have some church members who did help us out. They took us in. They're no longer here anymore, but they did take us in, and they did help us through the process until we were able to get back on our feet.
So you guys, you're still attending Three River Run up to this point. Now, I know, again, I have all the inside information here because we've shared the story, so I want to make sure we're giving the timeline as clearly as possible. So that's you've lost your home a third time. Second time, okay. So is this pre-COVID? Now, I know COVID hits, and that's a whole other story, and everybody, that's like a buzzword, that's trauma for a lot of us, right? Like, well, when COVID hit. So tell us a little bit about your season of life then, because I know that affected you guys greatly as well.
So this is the time that we actually left River Run, okay, because I end up working on the weekends. And this is before COVID. So we ended up living in Castleberry, and I felt like it was very far to get to River Run at that time, and so we left, and I tried to go to a different church at the time. My kids hated it, really, really hated it, and then I ended up working on the weekend, so therefore I didn't have a chance to really be involved in church like I was, because I was very much involved in church at the time. Broken at that time, I was involved, but now I've lost my family home, my church home family, and then I've lost, my connection, my generosity to the church. I lost all of that. So we were living in Castleberry at the time, and then, Lord beholds, here comes COVID, and, my hours were cut a little bit, and again, I have 4 children. I still have bills I have to pay. The landlords still want their money, and I couldn't keep up with it. Even with, the money they were giving us, couldn't keep up with it. And so I tried to talk them through, hey, can you kind of help us out? I'm doing the best that I can. I can pay here and there, here. Nope.
Yeah.
So we end up losing our home there. This is the hardest part of this particular time, because again, I didn't say anything, and we were homeless for 3 years or so before we came back to River Run. 3 years, and one of those years we were living in our car.
Wow.
and living in our car, and 2 of the years was a hotel. So again, I did not say anything, and because I was very disappointed in myself, and again, this was the very hardest time, and this is when I felt like I was at my lowest at the time.
Right, and did you still have all 4 children at this time?
I did.
So,
and they're bigger this time. Yes.
So, tell me, I know you know, as a mom, I'm sure you showed as much resilience as possible. You mentioned you made sure they were fed, bathed, clothed, they had everything they needed, doing the best you could in the circumstances. Tell me, did you have those moments? And it's okay, we can be honest on stage in church because we all have these moments. Did you have those moments where you felt angry or wanted to just shake your fist at God and ask him why this had to be your circumstance again for the 3rd time while you're trying to mother these babies?
You know what? No, because the 3rd time, he taught me a lesson.
Wow.
He taught me a lesson. And I knew there's something that had to change. This cannot happen again. And I worked myself to death to try to make sure this didn't happen again. So we stayed in the hotels. We did. We stayed in the hotels until I was able to find something. And if anybody knows the evictions, it's very hard to find something to find something that is permanent for you to stay in. And so I had to trust God. And every step that I went through, no matter what, even when I wasn't listening to God, I had to trust him, because if I did not, I would not be staying on the stage right now. And you know, what he has taught me, and that 3rd time that we went through, he has taught me to build strength, to lean on those who love me, those who are praying for me, and I had no choice. I didn't know where money was coming from. I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids. I didn't know how I was going to make sure they were clean. I didn't know how to manage. In the times that we have moved from place to place, we lost a lot of personal belongings because I couldn't take it with me. You know, the storage units, it cost money. We couldn't take the things with us. And I had to remember, you know, now, if you know me, I'm not a materialistic person. And I learned that now. It's just a material, it's just an item. You know, what's most important? The most important thing is my family. As long as I have my family, everything is great. And God had to teach me that.
Right.
He had to teach me that.
Yeah. So tell us, get us to present day. So you're living in hotels, and obviously there's a season of victory there. So walk us through.
Okay, so, we finally found a place here back in Oviedo that we moved into, and my son and my daughter are now adults at this time, my oldest ones. So my daughter and I got an apartment with my kiddos, and we were able to do that. Now, lovely Oviedo. I love Oviedo. I do. I love Oviedo.
Except those water bills.
Yes. The apartment that we were staying in was an income-restricted place, but did not have the paperwork right on there. And so, therefore, I could not afford the rent. I could not afford the rent because they didn't do the paperwork right, and I didn't look over it. I just oh, we got a place, no problem. We're moving right in. Great. Didn't look at it right, and without a doubt, we lost that place. Not only did I lose that place, I also lost my job. And this happened last year. And my job knew my situation. They knew that I lost my place. They knew that I was going through some issues. They knew. And this is a job that I've been with for 8 years. I've been with them for 8 years and never got a write-up, never got talked to. I started from their chef, moved all the way up to their assistant director, and in 1 week, as a school starting, they let me go. And it wasn't because of my performance, it was because we were living in a car. and I had my son in the car, and I had to take him to school, and the owner, not the owner, but the district manager didn't like the fact that it would give us, it showed a bad, it didn't look good on the school, that I had my son sitting there waiting for me to take him to school, even though the parents didn't know that I was homeless. No one knows. I make it look like nobody knows. So they let me go because they didn't want my son on property. So I lost my job and did not have a home in the summertime. So yeah,
So we're in the span of 8-9 years, and you've hit these trials and tough times and lost a home, not once but 4 times. So tell me how. I really admired your answer earlier, because when you were talking about trusting God and not being angry at him, I feel like my inclination would just be to ask why and blame him. How did you talk to your kids about faith in God in those moments? What were those conversations like? Because I'm sure there had to have been those moments where they were questioning and wondering. How did you model that trust for them?
Actually, my kids were fine. They took this surprisingly very well. Okay, Mommy, it's okay. It's okay. My youngest son, I was quite surprised how he was. It's okay, Mommy. I have no problem. We have no problem. We got this. No issues. They were okay. They were okay with everything. And and many times I cried. I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? And it's surprising. I cannot believe how strong my kids were, because to me, I felt like I was failing them. I felt like I was failing them, but they were great. They were great. And, and that point, I knew God was working.
Yeah.
There was a reason why things happened the way they did, because right now, I thank God, things are going so well now, because there was a reason. There's a reason why I lost that job, because I needed to leave. I needed to leave that job, and I wouldn't leave. And the only way to leave that job is if they let me go.
Yeah.
That was the only reason. And now I'm working somewhere that I love. I love where I'm working at, and that's where I wanted to be at. And then the home, the landlord that I have right now, she's a single mother. She doesn't even live in Florida. She didn't even worry. She didn't even care that I had an eviction. She didn't care. She says, all I want you to do is take care of those babies.
That's amazing.
Take care of those babies. And I can't ask for a wonderful landlord. I have never seen her. Never seen her, And, the place that we're at is right we need. Now, it's further away than Castleberry. We still drive to run, but I'm okay with that, because this is our home, and I'm very happy to have this as our home.
There's a piece of this story that I'm not sure many people are making the connection. I want to point out that during that last season of homelessness, you're still here. You're still serving. You're still up here week after week singing songs about trusting God and being anchored in his faithfulness. What is that? How did that look like for you, or what did that look like? I know the difficulty of, struggling inwardly but not saying anything, but you're still leading from a place of belief. Tell us a little bit about that.
I got to tell you, if you've seen me sing on Sundays, I am singing with pain in my heart, and I'm singing out how I feel, how God has moved in my life. That's where the songs come. So if you hear me just singing, I'm nervous every time. I'm nervous up right now, but I'm nervous every time I go up there. But then the Holy Spirit hits me, and then what you hear from my voice is what I am. Is my story. Is exactly what I'm telling you. It's my story. And just the fact that when I'm able to serve you, I love serving you guys. I love putting a smile on my face. I love seeing you guys come in here, and anytime to talk to you, I'm always willing to talk to you. I could say I'm very shy. I'm to myself. I am to myself. I am always to myself, but I will talk to you. I will talk to you. And, if I get to know you even more, I will talk to you even more. But I love serving in Ever Run, and I love being here, and I just, I want to bring joy to everyone, and that's just who I am, It's no matter what goes on in life, no matter what goes on in your life, the one main thing I want to point out is trust God. Always trust God, And if you want to yell at God, by all means yell at God, but no matter what, he loves you. And the one main thing I do love about the small group, my small group that I started, I think a year ago, they have been amazing. They have been with me every step of the way, and that's one thing I love. There's somebody you can talk to at all times, and you just have to trust. You have to trust God. You have to trust no matter what, and you never know what's going to happen. You have to trust God.
One thing that I love about your story is, and I think we've talked about this, especially as far as you being up here and being like a face of worship, you can't lead someone somewhere you haven't been or you're not willing to go. So the fact that you're singing these songs with such conviction is it really just a testimony and something that I know a lot of people here can take away today. The book of James tells us whenever trouble comes your way, let it be an opportunity for joy. For when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. How is that? Does that ring true to you, those troubles? Do you find the joy in those troubles today?
Absolutely. I found that sometimes you have to go through those trials in order for you to grow and to learn from them. And I have definitely learned from them. And to also you no matter what, you just have to trust. That's the main thing. You have to trust.
Through all of this, Sirena, what would you say, your story, everything you've been through, the trials, all the tough times, how has that taught you to lead your family well and under the guide of Christ's hand?
Just look what he's done in our lives. I just let my family know, look what has God done in our lives, because it could be worse off. We can be on the streets. We can be living underneath a bridge somewhere, and we were safe. We were taken care of. Even if we were in a car or in a hotel, we were taken care of. You had a roof over your head, regardless of what it was. Look at what God has done. It can be a lot worse. You have to remember he's got to be in your life. And so my kids know that. My children know that. And so, they may not want to come to church all the time, but the one thing is they know who God is, and they know what he's done in our lives, and they know they don't take for granted what they have. And they don't complain what they don't have. And I love that about my kids. They know. They don't say, oh, well, I don't have that, or, so-and-so has this, and that's not fair. No, they're like, I know, it doesn't bother me,
So as we wrap this up, tying into the theme of generosity, obviously you've been the recipient of generosity, but the most amazing part of your story, I think, is that even in your times of need, you were continuing to serve and you were continuing to be generous with your time and your resources. How has your experience shaped your outlook on being generous, both in your family and outside of it?
Even though we don't have look at generosity. Generosity is not about money. Generosity is in serving, and it's also instant serving. But those times when you don't have if you don't have the money, or you don't have, use your time. Your time is just as priceless. I'm telling you. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to talk to. You never know who's going to change your life. And that's the main thing. And being generous is very important to me, because I want to be able to give back what was given to me. And I am grateful for everything that has gone. I mean, yes, things have happened in my life, but I'm grateful that it did happen, and I'm happy to give back to those who helped me, and I'm happy to give back what God has given me, because no matter what, I'm going to always trust, believe, and be generous to God.
Amen. Yes, absolutely. Amen. Sirena, I know I have the distinct pleasure of knowing you, and so your words today mean a lot to me, because just seeing you up here and seeing you serve and just seeing that generosity pour through, it's more meaningful now knowing, your story and what you've been through. And although I'm sure we could probably take hours and dissect this more and just talk about the goodness of God through all of it, I'm sure you're not against. Sirena is definitely available to chat with you guys after. There's so much more to her story, and God's been so gracious to her, to all of us. And what we want, I guess, to take away from that this morning is no matter where you are or where each of us is, like that's each of our story, to be generous, to receive generosity. But Sirena, thank you so much. We do love you so much, so we're appreciative of you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from our boss man here, Pastor Tyler.
All right, go ahead, have a seat real quick. Hey, so as I wrap up our time here, just a few things. It was probably about a year ago. We talk about generosity changes lives and stuff. It was about a year ago that another mother came here. She kind of found her way here on a Sunday morning, and she was just absolutely broken. She was crying, and she was in a lot of hurt. And in her first day, it was her first day here, and she talked to some people here. We kind of prayed for her, and then probably the first place that she went over there and got some coffee. And while she went and got some coffee, she met a face, using her words, she met an angel of God. And that person that she met was Sirena behind there in the cafe, who was going through her own challenges, as you've already heard. One of the things I've just known for Sirena over the last 6 years, 7, 8 years, it's been a while, is when she came here in her brokenness a lot of times creates a lot of distrust in God, distrust in other people, and kind of keeping yourself at bay. And one of the things I've noticed just through Sirena's journey is walking through those challenges and walking through it in a way of working on what it means to trust God. And over time, a lot of her challenges didn't change over that time, but one thing just seeing her is her trust in the Lord grew and grew and grew and grew, to the point where she, being inward, began to allow people into her life. And doing that, you begin to see her smile more. And then through that, beginning to make relationships more and opening up a little bit more to her life, and allowing other people to open up to her life, and allowing God to open up, allow God to come into her life a little bit more, and then stepping out a little bit more and doing the cafe, and then stepping out a little bit more as she's trusting the Lord, even as she's going through these trials, and leaning into the Lord and leaning into community and stepping out in faith and coming in and worshiping the Lord. And when you see her worshiping, just like she said, she's going through challenges. So how in the world could she have such great joy when she's going through those challenges? Because of the years that she has built in a relationship with the Lord to trust Him regardless of the circumstances that she's gone through. And so what you've seen in her story today is really somebody who has learned, you know what? Whether I'm living in a car, whether I'm not, whether I'm here or working this place or working that place, the Lord is with me. That was a journey. It didn't just happen overnight. So my encouragement to you, no matter who you are, moms, dads, singles, whatever age you are, her story is the same story as all of us. Really what it comes down to is, do we trust the Lord? Do we trust the Lord even above the circumstances that we were going through? Because when we realize how much God loves us and how much we can trust Him through those circumstances that we go through. God never leaves us nor forsakes us. He loves us tremendously. He's always there for us to walk us through those things. But ultimately, the question is, are we willing to enter into that relationship with him? Are we willing to trust him? Every single one of us, no matter where we are here, we're really kind of dealing just with one issue. And you know what that is? It's trust issues with our God. I've been a Christ follower for 30 years or so. I still deal with trust issues with God. I trust him a whole lot more than I have over the years, but I still deal with him. Because I can recognize when God does those circumstances in my life and I begin to kind of freak out and get anxious. You feel that way? You ever felt that way? Yeah, those are the moments where we're learning to trust God. So Serena's story is really a story of just a fellow sojourner with the Lord like any of us here, of on the path of what it means to trust the Lord. And hopefully we can come to a place that we can go through the circumstances with a sense of joy and peace, and we can sing praise to our God who is right there with us, teaching us, encouraging us, helping us to grow in certain areas, and through that, using us into the life of other people. So my hope is that you would just take the time to kind of respond to that and respond to her story. And, as we take our time for communion, we'll have communion on the side to recognize and help us to realize that he who had no money gave up his life for all of us, Jesus Christ, so that he in his poverty can make us rich in our hearts, in our minds, as we walk through life in relationship with him. So when you take communion, just think about those things. When you think about, you may be going through something where it's really hard right now. And one of the things is don't be a solo person. Just like Sirena was talking about, community is so important. We're going to have people here on the sides, and the cross is here to pray for you. If you're going through anything hard, difficult, don't go it alone. Step out in faith. Trust some people who will love you and walk that out with you and pray over you in that. And then also when you have in the back is, different opportunities. You can give online through your app, or there's a QR code in the back on there to be able to give generously to help other people to know the generosity that we have in Jesus Christ as well, and to step out in faith in there as well. Whatever you do, we always like to say, don't just not do anything. You can even do something right where you're at. You can just stay right where you are, but even if you're going to stay right where you are, I encourage you to engage in the God who made you, the God who hears the prayers of a crying mother in a car with her children. Man, let me tell you one thing. We'll pray, because I want to, one of the things about Sirena, I don't know I shouldn't say that. There's very few people I know who work as hard as she does. She works really hard, knowing her really well. She loves her kids really, 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 really well. She loves them a ton. She's fought to have her kids with her all through this time. Her kids are beautiful. They are wonderful. Xanthia serves over in River Kids. Yay, Xanthia, making an impact. Our whole family's making an impact here at River Run as well, of just serving and giving and generosity to other people as well. And that may be something too for some of us to say, I've been sitting on the sideline and been kind of thinking about my own circumstances and stuff, and I haven't really stepped out into serving other people. And maybe that's something that the Lord can talk to you and, process with you in your heart right there as well. And so, Father, wherever we are, whatever's going on in our heart, I pray, God, that you would speak deeply to what we need to hear from you. Some of us, we are dealing with some really heavy distrust of you. We are angry. We are mad about the things that are going on in our lives. A lot of us, God, we're dealing with some distrust and things that we're afraid that you might take away something, or you might do something and make our lives miserable. And so these are all these different areas in our lives that we can feel a little bit of that, that sense of distrust. And so, God, I pray that you would just fill our hearts to remember that we can trust you. We can trust you with all of our hearts, with all of our soul, with all of our mind. We can trust you with all of our lives, Lord. But Father, I pray that you would walk us through that in that journey of building a better relationship with you, because it's through deep relationships that we begin to trust. So God, move in our hearts as we kind of move from where we are, and just connect with us, and don't leave us not hearing from you. It's in your Son's name I pray. Amen.